Hebrews 12:3, discipline in the midst of persecution. Hebrews 12:5 and 6 states, "And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth." He is clearly putting the discipline of the Lord in the context of, quote, the contradiction of sinners against himself, end quote, and against these people. This situation is a discipline of the Lord, or perhaps more accurately stated, the discipline of the Lord is in the midst of the situation. When God disciplines you, it is not necessarily, quote, because you have done something bad, end quote, that you hear, or because of, quote, you are in trouble now, end quote, although it can be. But to grow and partake of God, you have to be disciplined anyway. If everything was cozy and everything was fine and there was nothing to contend for, would we grow in grace as fast as we do? Right now, among the grace community, the truth is shining very clearly because we are being forced to contend for the gospel in the light of all of this contradiction. This can tend to weary us, weigh us down, and causes us to faint in our minds. But we have not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood and striving through all of this. However, we are so tired of contention, so sick of it, and just want to go home. That is why we need patience to run the race. So he calls this a discipline. This discipline is very interesting, and it does purify our motives. It has certainly reduced me. I could do a whole teaching on the Nephilim, and I was in the process of doing so. When I first started this channel, I presented a whole review on church history, including trends in the apostatizing church. I talked about Thyatira and Jezebel, which took me to the event where Nimrod became a Gibram. That brings in the Nephilim, the occult secret societies, dreams of apotheosis, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I planned to talk about the mystery religions and all which that involved, and God said no. It was unmistakably clear because what was most important was my contending for grace. I did not have time to get into all of the above topics, which I knew would be a tangent. So instead, I had to run a race, which was very specific, to contend for the grace of God. That is what we are doing now. Discipline reduces you and makes you single-minded. You cannot just wander around doing whatever you want. It reduces the dead weight, the sins, and the things which so easily encumber or hinder us, the weights. All these things drop off so that the thing which becomes most important is contending for the gospel. It simplifies you and makes you single-focused. This is the purpose of discipline. As we are single-minded, we are sanctified as well. I am partaking more of Christ through all this than I have during the last 15 years of my life. And that is due to his chastening. That chastening also can be grievous, especially because he does have to deal with sin in our nature. He has to deal with our motives, and he has to deal with our everything. I get angry at these people rejecting grace, and I want to insult them. I do not always handle things correctly. Then I have to repent. There have been a couple of times where I really had to repent. So that is the chastening. It is put in the context here of the persecution. I think that is very interesting. Also, we need the inward regulation where we learn to fear God. He does deal with us. It is not just the persecution. It is also the purification of your own motives and bringing you into the fear of the Lord.